Imagine packing your bags, ready for the adventure of a lifetime, only to realize you can't even enter the country. No visa, no entry, just nope. For many Israeli citizens, this is a frustrating reality. Today we're diving into 10 countries where Israelis are officially banned from entering. From breathtaking beaches to cultural treasures, these countries will leave you shocked. What's behind these travel bans? And how does it affect more than just travel? Stay tuned, you'll want to hear this. But here's a question: how would you feel if the place you've always dreamt of visiting was off limits? That could change your whole perspective. Let's jump in. Let's kick off with a country that's often on many travelers' bucket lists: Iran. Dramatic pause, yes, Iran. From its ancient cities to its rich history, it's a traveler's paradise. But for Israelis, it's completely off the table. Why? The decades-long tension between Israel and Iran has created not just political, but cultural barriers. It's no longer just about government policies. It's about the safety of individuals. Cue light humor, I guess. If you're Israeli, the only way you'll see Iran is through Google Earth, zoomed in. But all jokes aside, the conflict between these nations means this ban is not going away anytime soon. What does this mean for the future? Perhaps even more borders will close. And that raises a chilling question: what other travel freedoms will be taken away next? And if Iran seems extreme, wait until you hear what's happening with Lebanon. Now, Lebanon, a country known for its stunning Mediterranean coastline and buzzing nightlife. Israelis can't go, and the reason is simple: decades of conflict. But here's the real twist: Israelis of Lebanese descent. They can visit. Imagine that. Born in Israel? Sorry, you're banned. Born in Lebanon and moved to Israel? You might have a chance. This strange policy creates a personal dilemma for those who still have family ties there. It's a reminder that politics can deeply affect our personal lives, even down to the choice of visiting a loved one. Talk about an awkward family reunion. Hey uncle, I can't come over, your country hates my passport. It's unsettling to think that your place of birth or even just your citizenship can dictate where you can and can't go. But that's just the beginning of our journey into restricted territories. What if I told you Israelis can't visit a country just a stone's throw away? The next country on our list is Syria, right next door to Israel. This war-torn nation has been a no-go for Israelis for decades. But here's where things get tricky. Syria shares borders with Israel, and yet no travel is allowed. Why is this important? Because closed borders often mean lost opportunities. Businesses can't expand, relationships can't form, even humanitarian aid can't flow as it should. It makes you wonder, if this can happen between such close neighbors, how many other doors are we closing in our own lives? What opportunities are we missing? If borders were removed today, where would you travel first? Comment below. I bet it's somewhere unexpected. The restrictions go beyond just missing out on sightseeing. They represent bigger losses, economic opportunities, and personal growth. Every ban teaches us a lesson in the fragility of freedom. But what if I told you there's a country so breathtaking that even just the thought of being banned from it hurts? Finally, we have Saudi Arabia. Once known for its stringent policies, recently it's opened up to tourists, but not for Israelis. Isn't that a paradox? A country opening its doors to the world, while still holding on to the barriers of the past. But here's the twist: change is coming. Slowly but surely, global policies are shifting. Who knows? Perhaps in the near future, even these travel bans might disappear, opening the doors to previously unimaginable experiences. Just imagine the headline: Israelis flock to Saudi beaches. World doesn't end. And if this is possible, then there's no limit to where else you might go, or the opportunities waiting for you. But the real question is, are you prepared for when those doors finally open? Next up is Pakistan, a country rich in culture and history, but unfortunately not open to Israelis. For decades, the two nations have had no diplomatic ties, resulting in a firm travel ban. The irony? Both countries are home to some of the world's most fascinating ancient sites, but Israelis will never get the chance to explore Pakistan's iconic landscapes like the mountains of Hunza or the deserts of Thar. Can you imagine missing out on tasting Pakistani biryani? Now that's a real tragedy. It's not just about missing out on food or adventure. Travel bans like this reinforce isolation, preventing people from seeing beyond political divides. And the question is, what divides are we reinforcing in our own lives? But if you think that's surprising, wait until we get to the next one, a country you'd least expect. Let's move to Bangladesh, a country known for its vibrant culture, lush greenery, and welcoming people. But for Israelis, visiting Bangladesh is impossible due to a decades-old travel restriction. While the country's beauty and opportunity for adventure are undeniable, political tensions have barred Israelis from experiencing the wonder of places like the Sundarbans or Cox's Bazar. But here's what's interesting: Bangladesh, like other countries on this list, hosts business opportunities that many entrepreneurs dream of tapping into. Israelis, however, are left out. Imagine if you had a business idea that could thrive there. What would you do? Would you wait or find another route? These travel restrictions go beyond tourism. They represent missed chances for economic growth and global connections. And if these opportunities remain closed, you have to ask yourself, what other possibilities are we missing every day? Now, let's take a step back to Africa, where one of the most unexpected countries has a firm ban in place for Israelis. You've probably heard of the beautiful beaches of Sudan or the extraordinary history of Nubian pyramids. Yet, Sudan is another country that won't allow Israelis to enter. The tension between these two nations dates back decades, and while peace talks have been initiated in recent years, old policies still block travel. You know it's bad when even history books can't resolve passport issues. But here's the key takeaway: peace takes time, and as we've seen around the world, sometimes it's the individuals who move faster than governments. As travel bans like this begin to lift, there will be more opportunities for cultural exchange, diplomacy, and even business ventures. But until then, these restrictions highlight how fragile our freedoms really are. If you think Sudan is harsh, the next country might surprise you. It's a major hub in Africa, and yet Israelis can't visit. That country is Algeria. Algeria, with its sprawling deserts and bustling cities like Algiers, remains off limits to Israelis. Why? Political differences. Despite being a key player in the region and having an expanding economy, Israelis are barred from entering. And it's a massive missed opportunity. Algeria's growing market and beautiful tourist destinations are attracting visitors from around the world, except from Israel. So here's a thought: what's holding you back from seizing opportunities in your own life? Could it be self-imposed restrictions? Algeria shows us that sometimes the world's barriers are unseen. Policies, politics, and passports block the way. But they also challenge us to look beyond limitations and create our own path. Now, if you think Algeria's ban is surprising, just wait until we dive into Yemen, a country steeped in ancient history, but completely closed off to Israelis. Yemen, a land of ancient history and cultural richness, but a country embroiled in conflict for years. Sadly for Israelis, Yemen is one of the most dangerous places to visit today, not just because of ongoing war, but due to political tensions between Israel and Yemen. Here's the heart of the matter: Yemen is home to historical treasures like the ancient city of Shibam, often called the Manhattan of the desert. Yet for Israelis, those historical marvels remain out of reach. At this rate, visiting Yemen for an Israeli might involve building a time machine first. But here's the truth: we live in a world where old conflicts continue to shape today's realities. And the longer these bans last, the harder it will be to bridge the gaps. What's important is that we continue pushing for change, not just in travel, but in how we approach everything from finance to freedom. And lastly, a country that may surprise you for its proximity to Israel, yet Israelis can't visit: Kuwait. Lastly, we come to Kuwait, a small, wealthy nation in the Middle East that's not far from Israel geographically, but remains completely inaccessible to Israeli citizens. Kuwait has maintained one of the strictest policies, not just banning Israeli tourists, but also businesses and any form of connection. It's one of the few countries in the region where this level of restriction exists. And here's the kicker: despite the growing economic opportunities in Kuwait, including the booming oil and tech industries, Israeli entrepreneurs and investors are completely left out of the equation. Imagine being so close to incredible opportunities, but having no way to reach them. How would you feel if one of the most lucrative markets in the world was right next to you, but you couldn't access it? This brings us to a larger point: barriers exist, but they're often temporary. And when they lift, the people who are prepared are the ones who seize the opportunity. Will you be ready? These 10 countries represent more than just travel restrictions. They highlight the limitations we face in many aspects of life. Whether it's travel, finance, or personal growth, the key is to stay ready for when the doors open. And speaking of doors opening, don't miss our next video on how Canadians are now restricted from entering the US. Trust me, you'll want to know what's behind this shocking development. Click here to watch now and stay ahead of the curve. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss out on new content. Until next time, keep exploring, stay ambitious, and always be prepared for your next big opportunity.